Hey, this is Matt Light, and you are listening to Poor Man's Podcast. Actually, nobody's listening to this.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back at 565 Live, Speakeasy and Stage in Bellevue. Comedy here Thursdays and Thursdays. Music here Friday and Saturday. And joining us tonight, we are so lucky, from Odd Pittsburgh, we have John Shalkowski, pronounced correctly.
That's right.
It's wonderful to meet you today. Cheech and I were talking earlier. We are both big fans. I've been following your Instagram page for a while. It's always interesting stuff. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself, I guess?
Yeah, of course. Like, I'm curiosity is what drives me. That's right. I literally woke up one day and I was like, I started researching history of Pittsburgh Rivers. That was the first thing.
Okay.
And I started finding out the origin of the names of the three rivers. Just because I'm curious.
Okay, yeah.
I was like, how did the Ohio get its name? What does Monongahela mean? So I find out first that the Ohio River is named after the River of Blood.
Oh, no way.
Right, yeah. That's right. Second is Monongahela. It means river of falling embankments or high embankments.
Okay.
Pretty,
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
Pretty standard for a river.
Allegheny,
Yeah.
according to every history of Pittsburgh ever written, is named after an ancient race of giants that once inhabited western Pennsylvania, named the Allagawe, or the Talagawe, as some called. So you think now the story that is passed down from the Lenni Lenape, which they call themselves the first people. They were the first Native Americans to kind of settle this area. And there is no written language in Native American culture.
Okay,
Zero.
what, just the pictures, hieroglyphics,
Passed
almost?
down and written, yeah.
Yeah.
So you would have to have it translated or whatever, or meet somebody that would be able to translate it down. But the story goes that it was already inhabited by these tall people when they first came to Pittsburgh. And there's some kind of battle incurred or whatever where they pushed everybody out. And that was kind of the end of the story. And
they were just done. The entire species is done.
Just got pushed out. I said, I give up. No more.
Yeah, they gave up. They went to West Virginia, apparently, Knoxville, West Virginia, all these other unusual places. And that's kind of the end of the story. Like, it's just another one of those kind of things that's like a David and Goliath, giant versus little guy story. But 1921, the Chancellor of the University of Pittsburgh.
Okay.
Not only the Chancellor of the University of Pittsburgh, but the director of the Carnegie Museum.
Okay.
Big, serious guy. He was the first person to ever allow women to ever come to Pitt.
Oh, okay.
This
Good
guy's
call.
life story. I actually did a whole show on just this guy's life story.
Yeah.
It will blow your away. But he was on an archaeological dig in Verona.
Okay.
In 1921 and came across, guess what? 2 9-foot tall skeletons.
What?
No fucking shit.
It's in the Post-Gazette. It's in the annuals of the Carnegie Museum, and they even put it on display for who knows how many years. But it was there. Now, if you go ask Carnegie today, where's the giants?
Yeah.
They don't know what you're talking about.
What?
Now, it's not so much that it's their fault. It's happened so long ago that it's just someone else
Just gotten forgotten
it.
about.
Yeah, but who else should know about it?
Well,
I feel like everybody should know about
it's
it.
not the only time. 1949, a guy was in an archaeological dig in South Park, found 49 bodies, 2 of them being of gigantic stature. The McKees Rocks burial mound, 1898, was opened up. There was something like 30 people there. One they called the Chief, who was something like 7'5".
What?
Now, the tallest man ever,
Okay.
at least according to the Guinness Book of World Records, is a guy named Robert Wadlow. He's that guy you can see where his dad's 6 foot tall, and he's still taller than his dad. And he legitimately was 8'11".
Holy shit.
So it's humanly possible to be that big.
Yeah.
So
do you know where he was from? Because that's always in some Eastern European country. It's
he was from
weird.
here. Yeah, he was from the
Here?
United States, not Pittsburgh. But
I was like,
yeah.
He's from Bellevue.
We had other strange circus people kind of thing from Pittsburgh, like this guy they called Lobster Boy, and some other weird ones that would travel through. But I have a whole post about the sideshows and the freak shows that they used to hold downtown.
I feel like I saw
Which is
that.
pretty insane, yeah.
Yeah.
Where I tracked down the real photographs of the people that were performed there.
It's incredible. Just I'll let you get back to your story in a second, but just the research and the amount of work you put in, and it's not let me Google this and it's all on one page. It's let me find this,
real
and here's
research.
part of something. So let me cling that togogether with the. Yeah. Do you have in your bedroom the thing with the strings going together?
No. Wait, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I got a flash drive full of it. But it's essentially, you can connect every event in Pittsburgh to each other. You can connect every person ever born in Pittsburgh to each other if you really work hard enough. It'll blow your mind.
Yeah.
So, when you think of Pittsburgh history, what's your first thought?
Steel.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah, steel, right? Yeah. So, Pittsburgh's a lot more than just steel.
Yeah.
Steel, you're talking about stuff that came out maybe like in the 1880s onward, right? But Pittsburgh was here since the 1700s,
Yeah.
right? So, but Pittsburgh wasn't just here during the Revolutionary times or even French and Indian War times.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh was here for 1,000 years.
Yeah.
During biblical times, people were walking around.
Right,
Pittsburgh.
right. Yeah. It's not like it just popped up.
In fact,
Yeah.
in Washington County, there's a place called Meadowcroft.
Okay.
The radiocarbon dating of the things that they found there date to 10 to 12,000 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Human beings were walking around Washington County.
Yeah.
I don't know what they were doing, but they were there. Yeah.
Fighting
And
off the geese.
Just like looking for berries and that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Wandering.
So, but that's just
Yeah.
people.
yeah, right.
People goes. Now I used to carry it around in my car. It sounds real weird, but I would carry it around in my car. And I'd take it into places and show it to people and stuff. I probably do have it in there. But you ever heard of a trilobite?
Trilobite. Is it a
Trilobite
3
is like,
thing?
No, I have no
it's
idea.
It's a fossilized life, right? Fossilized kind of giant cockroach that once inhabited western Pennsylvania. It's the Pennsylvania state fossil. So if you ever on
dude,
Jeopardy,
what the
remember that, right? The trilobite is the Pennsylvania state fossil.
I just know the Russell Grouse or whatever.
Yeah, it says Russell Grouse, or the mountain laurel. Right?
That yellow flag looks like, you know?
Right. Well, that trilobite was a native of western Pennsylvania, born and raised here and died here. Was
Okay.
fossilized here.
How big
It
are we
went-
roughly talking?
About this big.
Okay.
About the size of like half a shoe, I guess.
And it was a cockroach?
Well, kind of. Much uglier and scarier. Like if you
heard.
saw this thing coming around, you would not like you wouldn't even want to step on it. You just want to
Yeah,
run.
yeah.
So
Ew.
they went extinct.
I can hear it.
Put it in perspective, right? So you have 10,000 years of people,
Right.
right? 20,000 years ago was the last ice age. This trilobite went extinct. Extinct.
Yeah.
252 million years ago. And they lived up to 500 million years ago. So you're talking about 500 million years of Pittsburgh history. A lot of this
shit.
stuff we have no idea. We have no idea other than fossils.
Right.
And the funny thing is, you don't find dinosaurs. You don't find T-Rexes or Brontosaurus or whatever. Because now they might have walked around here.
Yeah.
But for millions and millions and millions of years, Pittsburgh was buried in the bottom of an ocean.
No way.
Yeah.
Well,
right
roughly
where
when do you think
the
that
middle
they
of
would have
Pennsylvania-
crossed?
They say
crested.
around 100,000 years ago is when Pittsburgh kind of started emptying out.
Yeah.
From one of the last, one of the many ice ages that came through.
Yeah.
From like the Allegheny Plateau mountain range to
Okay.
the Allegheny Plateau, which is in Ohio, all of that was underwater.
Oh, wow.
You'll find if you go to the top of mountains around Pittsburgh, you'll find seashells and things.
Yeah.
Fossils. That's because of that.
Huh.
They had giant ferns and strange they didn't have trees. They had giant ferns.
Is that stuff you can still see, which is like erosion on the side of a mountain or something?
Every time
like
you drive
from
on the
yeah.
turnpike, you see those rocks.
Yeah.
You're looking through time.
Yeah, exactly.
You're looking
right.
at millions of years of Pittsburgh history.
That's so crazy to me. Like when you drive and you see like the different colors, and I was just saying this the other. I don't know if that it's true or whatever. It's just my own thoughts. Okay. I feel like if you did pick like any random place in the woods and just dig like 10 feet, there could be anything there.
if you were to do
How
that-
likely is it that somebody else dug 10 feet?
Or there's
right.
nothing and you still got dirt from
But right,
forever
exactly.
ago.
Like that's been
still
unseen
kinda fucking
dirt from
sick.
an ice age,
Right.
Dude,
right?
this is sweet.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah,
That's why archaeology is so fun.
right. Yeah.
That's why everyone wants to be Indiana Jones because it legitimately is what that is.
Next weekend we're going digging a hole, Chris.
Yeah.
Right.
We're
Well,
digging a bunch of
If
fucking
I don't
holes.
have to run down a hill being chased by a boulder with blow darts
That's
flying,
fine. I don't think
Yeah.
we'll have to, man.
I'm
I
gonna
really
bring my
don't.
whip.
I don't think so. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you'd be surprised how many places I've been to weird hidden caves all over the north side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like mountain caves in the north
mountain
side.
caves, yes, with Native American carvings and drawings in them and stuff.
Where is something
I
like
want to
that?
go there.
That's over
Yep.
by if you were to go on, it's right off of 279, right by
Okay.
the north, like the exit. I'm trying to think of the road, East Street. It's off of East Street.
Okay.
It's right off the East Street Valley, and it's up in a hill, like right where the kind of, if you're looking at Google Map, right where Pittsburgh, like 279
Yeah.
meets the last part of land right there on East Street.
Is this something that like you could search and find, or is it
Oh,
like
you never find that.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, so that's the thing. So I spend most of my free time, just randomly searching for words
Okay.
and trying to find out what the earliest mention of these things are. So if
Okay.
it is something like a cave, you're going to find a lot of stuff, just about caves in general that are published in the newspaper. But you will also find, if you know how to look or have the patience to do it, weird stuff that just nobody knows. That just it just went through the filter of the paper and then time, and just people forgot about it.
Yeah.
It's only now that people can research like this. Like, you think about 10 years ago, nobody could have access to the stuff that we have access to today.
How do they manage to? I mean, I don't know if you know the answer to this, but in general, from like your research, like these old newspapers, there's just all online now and everything. Yeah. So somebody had to go through all the old news.
Hundreds that are not.
Okay, so do you go in person other than just online? Do you go to libraries and find old newspapers and stuff?
It depends
that's
on what
not
the subject is.
Okay.
So when I tried to prove that the Wright brothers were wrong, and that a guy named Gustav Whitehead did it first in Pittsburgh, flew a plane in Pittsburgh. There's 30 witnesses, right? It was in the front page of the newspaper. There was the hospital report records. The chief of police has a notarized statement.
The hospital report records mean it probably wasn't good.
Successful flight.
It was not a successful flight. That's the issue. So
it was the last flight.
It took off.
It was the best
landed into a third-story building.
Oh no!
Now, how do you crash into a third-story building unless you're flying?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That's pretty. Yeah, that's not just jumping up.
According to the Smithsonian, which they have been in touch with me, because I was been part of a secret team.
Do you wear cloaks in this team?
What are you ready for this?
Okay.
I mentioned it. I came across it randomly on. I was searching newspapers for a guy who invented a perpetual motion machine, a machine that you could turn on and it would never turn off ever. No one's ever been able to do it, ever. People have been trying to do this since the beginning of machines. If you could solve that problem, even with like magnetism, if you could figure out something, it's still eventually going to stop. So how do you, without being pushed? So how do you create a perpetual motion machine? Next to this article about the guy who apparently did it, by the way, this is in 1897. Right next to it was about the story about this guy who flew an airplane in Oakland, and not just like a hand glider or something like a engine, wings. He had a passenger on the plane.
Oh, geez.
And so you see that once in the paper, you're like, well, it could just be somebody writing an article. Yeah. It's in the paper 40 times in just Pittsburgh prior to 1903.
Yeah.
When the Wright brothers claimed to have done it.
I mean, when were people, I mean, I feel like information obviously didn't pass as much there. So there could be like, okay, we did this here and we did this here, but maybe we got recognized for it first and then nobody cares about it. Because we already accepted that this is the what we know. We know this, and, we'll just pass it off.
Why do you know this?
Because that's what people choose. The Wright brothers are in the whole history mafia, man.
Well, think about it, right?
That's not the name.
When you start looking into things, everything. This doesn't just have to be about the Wright brothers. You look into anything. Okay. Now I tried to do that just to see if history is right. Like Coca-Cola, right, is invented by Pemberton.
Okay.
Right? Watch that history of foods in America. And I'm like, well, was it really? Does anybody really know? So you find that answer out if you just look hard enough. And that was true. Right.
Okay.
Things about the first flight does not be true. Now, I publicly talk about it on CBS radio, right? And within minutes, I get a call from the Ministry of the Interior, Germany, inviting me to join an international team of mystery, literally trying to prove that Gustav Whitehead, a German, was the first person to fly an airplane and not the Wright brothers.
They're like still trying to figure it out and shit. Like still trying to prove
they
it.
They had researcher in Australia, one in England.
God.
And they already had someone in Pittsburgh
That's sick.
that they hired was like this weird nerd who doesn't have a cell phone and he just hangs out the library. They found one of those guys who just like hangs out the library and paid him to go through like every page of the newspapers who weren't scanned.
Okay,
to look for things. And he found like something like 18 more articles about this guy. So what's it mean? Turns out, there's so much to the story.
Yeah.
But there's a contract that was created in the 1940s between the remaining one of the Wright brothers that was still alive and his family, and basically says that if you were to even like mention that someone flew first prior to the Wright brothers, we'd take all of our funding out of this place. We'd remove the airplane we gave you, and like we'd ruin the Smithsonian's name and all this stuff. And it's in contract, and I have that contract.
Heavy politics, even
when you get like, how do you get? Is it a letter? Is it a text? And then at what point are you like, is this real? Is this a thing, or is this just some prince and trying to get some money from me?
Conspiracy. I had no idea there was like anything.
Yeah, you were just doing research and you found this guy in Pittsburgh because I'm looking at this area did this.
It didn't surprise me.
Yeah,
because like there's so many things that have happened in Pittsburgh first. It will blow your mind.
Well, you were saying you had some
list.
Yeah, can you tell us something?
Dude.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Okay, so you ready?
We have the first radio, right? KDKA is number one, right?
There you go. So
I know that one.
Entertainment. Okay.
Yeah.
The first radio, commercial radio, which is what you hear today.
Okay.
That began in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
1920 with this guy named Frank Conrad, Westinghouse Studios, and all this type of stuff. But he wasn't the first person to create radio. There was another guy, not Marconi, who is credited part of it.
Tesla,
of course.
Yeah.
Tesla, yeah. But another guy named Reginald Fessenden.
Okay.
Now he taught.
I wish we had names like that. Still.
Yeah,
me too.
yeah, he was a crazy guy.
Chris Hopper
Wikipedia.
sucks. Reginald Fessenden.
Reginald
Fuck yeah.
Fessenden, yes.
Professional.
Well, he
a gentleman.
he claimed, and there's proof that he transmitted his voice for the first time through the air, wirelessly, not to from University of Pittsburgh down to Allegheny City, like a test that he was doing.
Okay.
It's not considered like an official record thing, but it existed and it happened. So does that count?
Why?
That
Yeah.
counts, dude.
Right.
That
Is there a
counts.
limit? It has to. I mean, if that's what it is, then they did it. But
Oh,
does
yeah,
it
that
He is
cross
credited.
counts.
X
If
amount
you
of feet?
Wikipedia, like the history of radio, he is credited as being like an early father of radio.
Yeah.
But one of the people, because that's the kind of thing. All these inventions, like
Yeah.
a lot of people would just happen to be working on the same thing and just didn't know.
Well, I don't. I mean, I don't. I'm sure you know way more than me, but I remember watching this documentary on Tesla and stuff, and it seemed like they really wanted this Marconi guy to just be credited for it, even though he took like 17 of Tesla's patents or whatever to create
well,
this.
you know about Tesla. He's fired by Thomas Edison in New York. He ends up digging ditches or whatever.
Right.
And then a guy in
Westinghouse,
Pittsburgh, George Westinghouse is like, it opens up. He just always had people coming in and pitching all the time, trying to work with him. And he was, I could talk 10 hours about George Westinghouse.
Yeah.
He was this guy who took like these ideas of like large amounts of stuff and figured out ways to like reduce it.
Okay.
So it didn't matter what it was. It could be about, first was the air brakes. He figured out how to use air to stop a train.
Okay.
No one knew how to. Prior to him figuring that out, you had to stop each car individually with like a brake.
Yeah.
You had to
shit,
hire people and it'd stop all uneven and people would die constantly.
Yeah.
So he created this air brake. He was 20-something years old, became a millionaire.
Yeah.
Then he's like, he buys this big house over by Frick Park and he's digging.
That's where I grew up. I grew up
All
on.
right.
Well, I grew up on South Braddock, right over by there.
Right by there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's digging in his wife's garden for some reason, hits this natural gas vein, and it becomes so big or so much coming out that he tries to figure. He has the money now to do things, so he's like, I wonder if there's a way to like control.
How can I capture this?
Gas?
Yeah.
Can I cap it? Can I transmit it? Can I record it with like a gas meter? Can I make it safe so that people could have it in their house? And the answer was yes, and he did that. And he's the founder of Equitable Gas.
Sweet, dude.
And then he's like, it doesn't stop there. He already had the technology for some early electricity type stuff, but he would
AC and
find
stuff,
these
yeah.
people that would create these technologies that would reduce large
Yeah,
amounts
yeah,
of
yeah.
pressure. So he found these guys, and Edison stuff was so dangerous, like this direct current, like huge volts of electricity.
And they were like saying how much energy it wasted too.
Imagine if you could have a box
Yeah.
that I could shoot that large energy in and kind of transform it into like stuff that's safe to use to people's houses. So he invented the transformer, right? And then he goes on to hire Tesla, brings him into Pittsburgh, where Tesla lives here in Pittsburgh for years.
Okay.
Works with him. And
Was that when he was in his bad shape with the pigeons,
lived in
or?
nothing but hotels?
Oh,
It was
yeah,
scary.
yeah.
I know the hotels that he stayed in. He was a weird guy.
Yeah.
And apparently he did stay with Westinghouse, but he was so weird that they kicked him out to like a hotel. But that's so that AC power. So
Yeah,
there's
right.
everything in this room, like literally everything is because of Pittsburgh.
There was I had like, I don't know what it was. It was like a week in like June where I was like, you know what? I should watch every Tesla documentary there is because he's super interesting.
Yeah.
So I was like, George Westinghouse basically like paid for him to live at the end of his year.
Right.
As
So you go back to
his life,
radio,
yeah,
right?
his years.
So just get back to like technology, entertainment technology, right?
Mm-hmm.
Television was developed by Westinghouse.
Okay.
In 1949, a guy named Vladimir Zworykin, which is the guy who invented TV, created like a cathode ray tube at Westinghouse, which makes TV work.
Okay.
It was invented in Pittsburgh. And then...
And what was his name?
Vladimir Zworykin.
So are you part of like some Russian underground cult that's going to say he's the...
That's what I'm hearing.
Right. Well, like he... that technology was first premiered here in Pittsburgh television.
Okay.
And coaxial cable connection, that was
Do we
a
know
big deal.
what do we know what was on the first?
Yeah.
What was
called
it?
the DuPont TV network.
Okay.
Or WDTV,
Sweet.
which is now WPXI. But
Oh, no way.
Yeah, that's where the inaugural broadcast happened. There was a guy named Edward Shaughnessy.
Wow.
And he did some kind of like live kids show or whatever.
Huh.
It's the first show. So
It's probably terrifying.
yeah, that's television.
It's like puppets.
Has
Yeah.
to be.
You know, in 1905, Edison, but he makes this thing that can project movies, right? The movie projector. Well, people were showing it in basements like this, or in churches, or just wherever, like at a festival, not an actual theater, like a movie theater. This guy in Pittsburgh in 1905 said, "You know what? I think I have the space, and I think I'm gonna make this like a movie theater." He calls it the Nickelodeon, and it becomes the world's first movie theater.
Shit.
So you got radio, television, movies, right? Now here's where it gets crazy. Let's talk about sports first.
Okay.
So do you know anything about like the first like sports firsts?
I feel like I know a little bit if you ask
yeah, like,
specifics.
yeah,
Well,
maybe.
I'll tell you this. It's probably a fact that most people don't know. But the world's first college basketball game took place in Pittsburgh.
Oh, really?
It was actually in New Brighton.
No shit.
Yes, and
I just
Stomping
moved to New
grounds,
Brighton this
baby.
week,
Yeah,
man.
New Brighton.
Shout out New Brighton,
and it was
Rochester.
Kind of like YMCA's prior to that were playing
Yeah.
basketball, and then colleges adopted it, and that first college to ever play was New Brighton College. So they were the first college basketball team
sweet, dude.
ever. Now
That is the coolest thing I've ever
Well, no,
heard
no,
in my life.
I'm not done. Okay, so you ready?
Keep it coming.
I want a New Brighton original jersey
Me
so
too,
bad.
bro.
So all sports
Find one.
were considered amateur at one time. There was
Okay,
no
right.
such thing as paid people to play sports.
Even the pros were like had
There were
second
no
jobs
pros.
and
There was
third
no pros.
jobs. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, prior to pros.
Yeah.
Yeah. So because the invention of professionalism.
Yeah, right.
Began in Pittsburgh.
Oh, no way.
So back in I can't remember the exact year. I probably thought about it.
Yeah.
But this guy named, you're gonna love this name, Pudge Hufflefinger.
Fuck yes.
Pudge Hufflefinger. Good old Pudge.
Where in Harry Potter is he from?
Yeah.
Hufflepuff.
Yeah. He
Pudge Hufflefinger. And that's so.
Pudge
Yeah.
Hufflefinger. He was
you just call me
the
that from now
best
on?
football player at Yale University.
He
Right?
would
So
be Ivy League.
You had Pittsburgh, and then you had Allegheny. There were two separate cities,
Yeah.
like that North Side and Pittsburgh. For 150 years, there were two separate cities.
Okay,
It
so
was
the
like
north side.
Cleveland and then Pittsburgh. Yeah, it was like you didn't cross the bridge.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, it was weird. 1907 is when it became like its own thing, like part of Pittsburgh.
Wait,
People thought it-
1907?
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago. Yeah,
That's
so-
like 5 people get.
Not even. Like
Yeah,
my
no.
great grandmother was.
Yeah.
yeah. So a lot of people.
She was
like,
probably a North Sider. I guess I am now. Fuck. Never mind. I grew
Well,
up.
they had their own baseball team. Well, that's where
Yeah.
the Pirates began over there in Northside, in Allegheny City.
Okay.
But so the football.
Well,
so
were they the Alleghenies or what am I
they were.
thinking of? Okay, yeah.
Well, they were called the Pittsburgh Alleghenies.
Yeah.
Well, they were called a whole bunch of things.
Yeah.
I'll get there.
Yeah.
So, anyways, the Allegheny Athletic Association versus the Pittsburgh Athletic Association.
Yeah.
And these were like legitimate sports teams, amateur sports teams.
Yeah.
Nobody was paid to play these teams except for Pudge Hufflefinger.
No way.
I love it.
They hired from Yale to come, or Princeton to come here and play one game, and they figured if like they could get the best football player,
Yeah.
there's no rules really against it, and they paid them, and that there's an actual like receipt of that, and that receipt is in the Football Hall of Fame as record of the first person ever paid to play football.
That's awesome.
The first
Sweet.
professional football player,
Pudge
first
Hufflefinger.
pro.
Pudge Hufflefinger, Dad.
Well,
Why haven't I never heard of a Hufflefinger
I
since
want
then?
his jersey, man. That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
I mean, think about it. Like, how many people do you think know this, and just in general,
Zero.
let alone in Pittsburgh?
0. Close
Why?
to 0.
Why? Don't you think we could be like the Steelers would be proud?
I read that the first
be like,
professional
hey,
player
Be
was.
proud of Pudge Hufflefinger. Retire his number.
I read that it was Orville Wright, man.
Right.
You can't trust them for anything.
That's right. Well, so not just football for world's first pro
Yeah.
sports, but same thing happened with hockey.
Oh, okay.
Hockey is the most incredible story. I could talk 10 hours about hockey. No joke.
Okay.
Pittsburgh. So how many hockey teams do you think Pittsburgh had prior to the Pittsburgh Penguins?
The names.
Most people just thought there was just the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Now,
right?
I did a report, so I know the Pirates, the Hornets.
Okay,
Is there a Yellow Jacket?
there is.
And then that's all I know. Is there another
That's
one?
good. Yeah.
Okay. Is there another one?
It's 16.
There's 16?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought I was good because I knew like 3.
Yeah,
No, I don't know.
Lyceums,
Requirements
Pittsburgh
of the
Keystones,
research,
Pittsburgh
yeah.
Bankers, the Pittsburgh.
The Bankers.
They had a cool shirt where it was just like a big money sign,
They need like the burlap sack bag with the money
true.
symbol on it,
Yeah.
and like the black like
Pittsburgh
Ninja Turtle
Shamrocks.
thing.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh Shamrocks were around for one
Oh
year.
no way!
There was 2 Pittsburgh Pirates. One.
Yeah.
But anyways, in 1902.
Okay.
Same type of thing. This guy.
Is that the first year they had hockey, or when did they
No,
first have hockey
hockey
here?
began here in 1895.
Okay.
1895. We were only used to playing like indoor lacrosse, kind of on ice, which was like a thing. but they didn't really were introduced to hockey until people from Canada came down there and like literally showed us how to play the game.
Yeah.
And then they intramuraled that one game, and then they kind of split into different teams. Where they combined people from Canada and Pittsburgh, and essentially it became so like a hot thing. That this guy was like, man, I could make money. I think if I could get like the best hockey players in the world to come to Pittsburgh.
So they got Pudge.
So, well, well, they got all these other guys, you know, and there's one guy named Charlie Lifferton. I remember his name.
What?
Because in 1901, he won the Stanley Cup with Montreal.
Okay.
And then all 1902, all of a sudden, he's in Pittsburgh.
And it was the last time the Canadians won the Stanley Cup.
Right. Exactly. So why would he come to Pittsburgh? Number one.
Yeah.
If you just won the Stanley Cup and you're from Canada, like why would you leave Canada, especially for a non-professional team?
Yeah. He did the David Beckham move, man. Why'd you come to MLS?
Yeah. So that's literally what happened. So in 1902,
I don't know nothing about
1903, you had the best hockey players in the world being hired to come to Pittsburgh, and that was the only place in the world that was happening.
Yeah.
So like the best players from the best teams were leaving all these Canadian teams and everybody else and starting like this new thing.
So who's in charge of paying these players? Like
well,
who?
That's actually interesting. So
Okay.
it ended up being this place called the Duquesne Traction Company, which owned the trolley lines.
Okay.
And they had this like weird secret deal where they would build this place in Oakland called the Duquesne Garden, which was there till like the late 50s or 60s.
Okay.
It's also where the world's first ice capades happened.
Okay. I think I heard. Okay.
They had boxing matches.
Maybe I'm thinking, is that by? Okay, where was that,
It's
downtown
right
or is that in
on
Oakland?
North Craig Street?
Okay.
Oakland, right
I went to
across from,
Central Catholic, so I feel like I heard about that. Yeah.
Not far.
Yeah.
So but that's where the birth of professional hockey began.
No way.
And the world's first indoor artificial ice surface ever was there. The first hockey trade to ever occur was in Pittsburgh.
Oh wow.
Some of the first female hockey teams, professional teams, was in Pittsburgh. There was 4 professional hockey female teams,
Yeah.
like League of Their Own style in World War One.
Oh really?
Yeah, it's a story that's never been told.
How they have women's hockey? The Penguins didn't even join the NHL until what, 67?
Well, we had our first NHL franchise in 1920, and then we lost it like in 1928. In 1920, we were the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Okay.
And
they were part of what is the NHL
the
history.
NHL.
Yeah. Okay.
The legitimate NHL. And then they dropped that, and they became like a minor league team, like the Pittsburgh Hornets, which was the last team before the Penguins.
Then why do we always hear about the original 6 teams?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like you think with Pittsburgh and how big hockey is here, you think you'd make a bigger stink about the fact that it literally began here.
How much of it is just people are told things so they never question anything and don't look at the history?
All the time.
All the time.
Like if you were to Google right now the history of professional hockey, like who was the first person ever paid, you're not going to find a real good answer except the one that I edited on Wikipedia, right? But even that,
that's the key to always being
I had
right.
to struggle to prove that.
Yeah.
You know, it's like if you look at that actual Wikipedia page, you'll see there's like 15 sources for what I said.
He's just like, what's the most ridiculous name I can think of? Pudge Hufflefinger.
Yes, that's it.
Yes. So that's just where it begins. You know, so we'll go through. I'll give you a couple more. The world's first gas station.
Okay.
Opens up in East Liberty. That's where the world's first gas station. The game Bingo, 1920, by a guy named Hugh Ward, was the guy who came up with Bingo here in Pittsburgh. That's where he invented it.
Do you know how he came up with the name?
Yeah, it was originally called Beano, so the people would go, "Hey, Beano!"
Yeah.
And then like
They're all sitting down at a fire station and waiting for the call.
It literally started like that. It started with him going to church festivals in Pittsburgh,
Yeah.
and like introducing this game played with beans, and then they eventually developed into Bingo.
Huh.
Sweet, dude. Fuck yeah.
Let's see, the world's tallest school, you know, the Cathedral Learning was the world's tallest school.
And then what did they
that's
pass
sick.
by?
It's the second currently, still the second tallest school. in the world. First is the University of Moscow is number 1.
Okay.
Did they just do it to pass us?
Probably.
Yeah, but for a good like
Fucking
20 something
dickheads.
years, it was the tallest school.
You know what blows my mind? Because I was driving through Pittsburgh to like the east end of Pittsburgh by the Squirrel Hill tunnels. But before that, you can kind of see the cathedral on your left side if you're driving towards there. And I was like, how tall is that? And it's like 500 some feet or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I was like, how tall is the statue of or the Eiffel Tower? The Eiffel Tower's like twice as tall as that. That's incredibly tall. And then what?
That's incredibly
tall. Dude, it blows my because
Yeah.
I did a deep
It's
dive on
fucking
this.
huge,
I was gonna
man.
do this on the show, and then we got lost track like 4 months ago. So I just remember the information.
Okay.
Whatever this place is in like India or wherever, somewhere in Asia, it's like 3 or 4 is cathedral learning. You know how tall that is?
tall.
Cathedral learning is tall, man.
Yeah.
Fucking tall, dude.
Yeah.
135 feet.
Yeah, okay.
I know the
Is that what it is?
exact amount, yeah. What's funny about that's really they go back to what you're saying, like these gigantic structures. Where the world's largest clock face is.
Okay.
When you're driving on Boulevard of the Allies.
Yeah.
If you're going to
Please tell me that
you
is
look over
it.
there to the south side and you see the big old. Used to be the AT&T clock, and then
Okay,
it was all these
yeah,
other
yeah,
clocks. It was
yeah.
the Duquesne Brewery clock. It was the Stroh's Brewery clock. It was like
Yeah,
all
yeah.
these clocks. That clock that you see across the river
Tell
right there
me.
is the world's largest
Tell
clock
me.
face on Earth.
Fuck yeah.
It's like something like 7-8 times bigger than the clock of Big Ben.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so
Fuck those Brits, dude.
Down south side. We got the real Big Ben, too.
Damn straight. We got the true Big Ben.
Only
right.
Big Ben I know has 2 rings on his fingers.
That's right. That's right. And then here's other weird, random world's first. The Big Mac was invented in Pittsburgh, of course.
I did hear that.
Yeah.
On McKnight Road, not in Union
Oh, what?
Town, or whatever
McKnight
they call it.
Road.
Oh, McKnight.
Yes, on McKnight Road.
Yeah.
Yes,
There's a ton of
1967.
North Hills history you were just saying.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, I can talk about Bellevue history, which is where we are. I can tell
We
you
definitely have to
some,
talk about that for a little bit.
including the House of Mystery.
What is the House of
I'll save
Mystery?
it. I'll save it.
Okay.
I want to know.
I guess if I knew it wouldn't be the House of Mystery.
Very true.
Yeah, the world's first picture phone. That was
Oh.
in Pittsburgh. 1970 is when that premiered.
Picture phone?
Picture phone, literally plugged into the telephone line, and you could see like pictures of who you were talking to. And they premiered it. You can actually find the clip on YouTube of that.
Had
event.
they-
That
had they
happened
made
a
How
few
it
years
have I
ago.
that
never
one?
heard of that?
You
That's
think AT&T did it too in 1970, and it took that long for that technology to be like commonplace in houses.
I wonder how long they had it before we knew it.
Well, they also had push button phones. That was
Yeah.
invented in Pittsburgh.
Oh,
Touch tone phones, things like that. Like when you dial whatever 412.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh's
before-
the
all this type of
fucking
stuff.
shit.
That was
Polio
very-
vaccine, right?
Polio, of course.
Jonas
I
Salk?
knew about that one.
First nuclear submarine, the first
Knew
nuclear
about
power
that one
plant.
as well.
Yeah.
in the US.
Knew about that.
Well, that's over in your area.
Damn straight it is. They say we're by Midland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you have these fraternal groups like
Okay.
the police and the the firefighters. They all belong to fraternal unions and stuff.
Yeah.
For the FOP number 1, it's in Pittsburgh, Lodge number 1. It's where it began.
Oh, okay.
The firemen, the Pittsburgh firemen. That is the for the firemen's lodge. It's number 1.
They're
The
both
first
are.
in the country. First union
yeah.
of firefighters or police anywhere in the world.
Wow.
Right? We're lodge number 1. So
Right
that's
on.
just that. And that
Enough
was this whole-
said.
The first EMS.
Wow.
Prior to a guy in Pittsburgh, there was no such thing as an ICU unit.
Okay.
That was invented in Pittsburgh at University at UPMC.
Wow.
Same with ambulances, and like an actual car designated for an ambulance
Right.
instead of just whatever they had randomly around.
Yeah.
But it's that all began first. Like medical frontier stuff will blow your mind. Like the first hand transplant, the first
Yeah.
heart, liver, lung transplant.
None of that shit.
All
Kinda,
that was
none of that
first
shit
Pittsburgh.
surprises me.
Yeah,
I,
yeah. I
was
we're,
gonna s-
we're,
yeah.
I knew that we're we're.
It's
known
one
for
of
that
those
shit.
things where you get it's for it's a good thing but a bad thing. Like you almost don't respect it enough. Like it's crazy the things that have happened here, but since there's been so many of amazing things, they almost get mixed in together.
There's so many.
Yeah.
It's like how about the skeleton down at the T-Rex skeleton? When you go to the Carnegie Museum, you see that big T-Rex.
Yeah, yeah.
That's real famous. You know why? Because it's one of 3 T-Rexes ever found. They've never found more than 3 T-Rexes
In the history
in
of
the
time.
history of T-Rexes.
So
I joke
okay.
you not. I kid
So
you not.
pretty much Pittsburgh's the shit and
Yes.
fuck everyone else is what I'm hearing.
Pretty much.
Damn straight.
Now, like
dude.
if you could figure out a way to promote that somehow.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
In a big way.
yeah.
Like just the first, or
Yeah.
I mean, the list goes on. Like the first Jeep, the first crematorium, the first suburb in America.
really? Yeah.
First suburb in America
Was which one?
Evergreen Hamlet
Okay.
in 1851.
Where is
Millville.
that? Oh, Millville?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it was for like a special community that they built on purpose as a suburb. And that counts. It's a
Okay.
National Register of Historic Places.
Wow.
Shit.
The other one is
sweet.
this one's great. Well, there's 2 things involving time. So I hate
Okay.
time. Number 1, I can tell you, I don't believe in time.
The
You're lucky I
spice?
got me here at 7.
Yeah.
because I just literally do not believe in time. I don't look at the clock. I don't let the clock.
Yeah.
I go to sleep when I'm tired.
There's a giant one on the south side if you need one.
Damn
yeah,
straight.
yeah, that's right. But like,
It's the biggest in the world.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
That's right. Yeah. But you have like my favorite things about time are well, number one, daylight savings time. The idea of it, the horrible. Everyone hates daylight savings time, but that was invented by a Pittsburgher, guy named Robert Garland.
Yeah.
Yeah,
who,
fuck
like,
that guy.
It was an old idea. Yeah, it was an old idea of like saving daylight in order to help farmers and things like that during that time period. But then like didn't think of what it would be like 100 years later, and everyone like people like get suicidal because of the daylight savings time. I mean, no joke. So like,
Why don't the farmers just wake up a little bit earlier?
What makes you question? How can one guy in Pittsburgh
Yeah.
be
Just
the guy who
convince the
literally
entire
changes
fucking
time?
world.
He's so
Yeah.
pissed off that he has to wake up. His wife's like, "You better get up an hour earlier," and he's like, "If I have to,
show you."
everyone is."
That's right. Well, well, that's daylight savings time, right? But what about Eastern Standard Time, right? That's
Okay,
the,
right.
you know, when you tell people
Yeah.
like I'm on a Zoom, like, oh, I'm on Eastern Standard
Yeah.
Time. That also was first like not invented because you can't invent time, but you can
Yeah.
well like push a
Human
button
beings, yeah.
that says this officially marks the beginning of what we call Standard Time. That was done here in Pittsburgh.
Oh, really?
At the Alligator Observatory in Riverview Park.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, a guy literally pushed a button there in 1887 or something.
Yeah.
That said like,
Push
this
the button
means
and-
noon.
Yeah.
And everybody in the world had to go by what he said, what he did.
Do you think it was like
Push
that
the
was
bu-
that
push
was
the
the
button
day it
and
was
change the
supposed to
world.
be, or was the day before and he got cold feet and he was like, "Oh no, I'm 10 minutes late." You know what? It's the next day.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
start it on the second.
Yeah. Well, think about that. I mean, that's such a huge
That's
contribution to
crazy.
mankind.
Yeah, that's
That you're talking like a whole nother level. Not just to mention, I forgot to mention baseball's first, which is the world's first World Series happened. In
Right,
Pittsburgh,
right, yeah.
right, in 1903.
They lost
lost.
to Boston, right?
Did lose.
Yeah.
1909 we won.
Yeah.
That was against the Detroit Tigers, and the leader of the Detroit Tigers was Ty Cobb.
Oh,
And it
okay.
was like this Honest Wagner versus Ty Cobb like
Oh,
duel.
yeah.
It was like one of the best cool things you could look into the 1909 World Series. We didn't win again until 1925. Then we went back in 1926 and lost the New York Yankees bad because there was like Lou Gehrig, Babe Ruth, all these people on the team.
When you just said the Yankees, I was like, "There's probably 7
the
Hall of
27, it
Famers."
was the 27
Yeah.
Yankees. Yeah, they had a thing called Murder's Row, which is like
Yeah.
this insane offense. But from 1925 to 1960, we didn't win anything.
Yeah.
40 something
And after
years went
90.
by. 40 years. So like, and you look at when's the last time we won a World Series? 1979.
79?
Right? We're due, man.
Yeah.
So don't give up. I'm telling you, historically, these things come in those
So
kind
when
of
were there?
distances.
When did they win 71 and 79 or something
yeah,
like that?
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
and then
79.
did they win 2 in the early? You said
1909, 1925, 1960, 1971, and 79. That's what we won.
I'm trying to like find a pattern.
The
It's
world's
like
first
27
night game.
we're due then.
Yeah,
nah,
yeah.
man.
Yeah, you just got that.
Nah, man.
layer
We're,
of
we're
time.
fucking whooped.
Well, here's a fact that always blew my mind is that the Steelers were, I mean, they've been kind of around prior to 1933. They were just called like the Majestic Roonies or something else weird. But in 1933, when we got our NFL franchise, we didn't win a single
Yeah, they
postseason game until the Immaculate Reception.
Oh no way, that was their first playoff win.
1972, we never went to the playoffs once.
Yeah,
Prior
they
to
sucked.
1972.
Yeah.
That's why it's immaculate because think about that. 1933, we never had a winning season, like a full winning season. That's how bad the Steelers suck.
we really got our shit together in the 70s.
They were garbage, and they got Chuck Noll and Joe Green.
Chuck Noll changed everything.
Right.
Chuck Noll came in. There's a great documentary from NFL Films that you can see like all ins and outs of Chuck Noll. Like what he did, he retaught people like move your left foot 1 inch to the left.
Yeah.
Like he was
He
that.
really
He was
like
yeah.
dove
structured
deep.
that team from the
When did
beginning.
they hire Chuck Noll in the
That's
late
for
60s?
1969.
Okay, yeah.
And then 70 was his first postseason. And then 72, 73, I guess, was the Immaculate Reception.
It's the first win. So yeah, he drafted what, like Joe Green. There was Franco
Terry
Harris
Bradshaw,
there, Terry Bradshaw,
all that
Jack
original
Ham,
guys.
Jack Lambert, Mel
Yeah.
Blunt. Like there's some
Dream team,
yeah,
baby.
Mike Webster.
Curtin,
Like I
Curtin.
think was it the 73 or 74 draft, or maybe it was 72 because they were on it, where they had like 3 Hall of Famers in the first 4 rounds.
Yeah.
That's
It blew my mind.
insane.
Yeah, it's
Insane.
Yeah, and Franco and all those guys.
Yeah.
They all followed by Page.
Oh really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Franco Harris stuff's like every day he's
Yeah.
sharing something or liking things. That's the thing that blows my mind the most is like, like the stuff is so universal.
Yeah.
That like anybody can enjoy. It doesn't matter who you are, like whatever your status is,
Right.
per se. Even if it's like a super mega celebrity, they like it just like the guy at McDonald's likes it.
It's still, the area down the street. It's still interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're telling stuff that they don't know.
Right,
So
yeah.
it's just like, it's just this cool thing all getting together. I mean, you could keep going on and on. I mean, like Johnny Appleseed.
Okay.
Pittsburgh.
Johnny Appleseed is from Pittsburgh.
Not only that, but I found a thing that was published in 1912. That was a story about John Chapman, who's Johnny Appleseed really old. Well, he was a real man who worked at Fort Pitt, who began his journey traveling across the nation, like planting seeds here. Like he planted things.
Does that
here.
mean he just had a bunch of kids and left? Because I feel like
you're right. The seed. Well, he didn't have kids. He didn't have any kids.
Yeah.
Well, he might have had kids, but the seed he's planting was like religion.
Oh, is that what it was? Yeah.
Swedenborg Church.
So he was like Jehovah's Witness. He's just knocking on the cabins.
Yeah, that was the seed. That was, but he legitimately did plant seeds. He was a gardener. He worked. We know for sure that he worked down in Fort Pitt.
Was he the one with the pot on his head, or am I thinking
that's
somebody
the
else?
guy,
Okay,
yeah. And if you go back and watch the Disney cartoon, that Disney cartoon, like the little clip. Watch the very beginning, the first 5 seconds. He goes, "Oh, sunny day at bright Fort Pitt in downtown Pittsburgh," and I'm like,
yeah,
so,
specific.
But I tracked down a couple of groups of trees that apparently were planted by Johnny Appleseed.
Wow,
They're
the Johnny Appleseed.
They're in McKeesport, and according to 1920s,
And they're
they
lemon
were still
trees.
Yeah, they were still there in 1920s.
Oh, really?
So who knows? There could be legitimate apples around Pittsburgh planted by like the Johnny Appleseed.
Wow,
Shit, dude.
that's pretty
But
crazy.
There's a story about like every historical figure. That's what I mean. Like you can connect almost anybody and anything to Pittsburgh.
That's so wild.
It just blows your mind, for sure. Especially like the first stuff. The first stuff is just it keeps on going and going and going.
Yeah, as you were saying that, every single one, it was like, yeah, I've heard a couple things. In high school, I took like a Pittsburgh history class that was basically like, Kennywood is here, and it was like.
What do you know why Kennywood is there?
Well, why?
So that was the end of the trolley stops.
Oh, okay.
That was smooth as fuck, my dude. Yeah.
You got to watch the video just for that.
But it was the end of a trolley line, and it was a trolley park. So like people would take the trolley to where it ended, and then you would just have a picnic. And that's like kind of the evolution of Kennywood.
Okay, yeah.
Same thing with Westview, was like on the trolley line. Westview was a little different because it was like built on purpose to attract people to come to this North Hills and live there.
Okay.
So it was kind of built that reason. But Kennywood in that spot, like that river, right where Kennywood is, across the river, is Braddock's Field.
Right.
So like the history of that during the French and Indian War, a lot of people don't realize just how important the three rivers were to early American history. I always thought just like everything takes place in Philadelphia or Boston or somewhere way over on the coast, not like
anyone
Pittsburgh.
Can crack a bell,
Not
man.
Pittsburgh. So, but it turns out everything that there is in early American history all goes through Pittsburgh, and during that time period, there was this defeat, like the worst defeat of any kind of British troops ever, and this was called Braddock's defeat. And this thing called the Battle of the Monongahela, where I found actually a real cool story told from the French point of view about a guy who like bravely fought. And I'll tell you that story because the guy's name was Daniel. His name was Daniel. I can't remember his last name. I'll think of it though. Yeah. But he was a French soldier, and there was one of 30 guys who was stationed at Fort Duquesne. It was a small, tiny fort. Now it's like real at the tip. Fort Pitt was 10 times bigger. Anyways, he hears that these people, like not only this guy General Braddock coming, who was like legendary alone, but bringing with him was a young like George Washington, who was like 25 years old in like tip-top shape. Daniel Boone was part of that group. Like all these like huge,
the dream team.
All these huge warriors, like these people you don't want to mess with. Right?
Charles Barkley,
yeah, exactly. Well, they all start coming. They're marching to Pittsburgh. He hears about it. This Daniel guy is Captain Daniel, and he knows that there's no way he's going to be able. He's going to have to surrender the fort. And like they've had this fort here for 25 years. It's going to suck to be the last guy to be in charge of the fort. Like, what do you tell the king of France? Because it was run by the actual like king. So he decides to go ask the local Native Americans for help because there was hundreds of Native Americans here, and that's a whole other story for another day. But groups from all over. There is no native group to Pittsburgh. There was 50 groups here in Pittsburgh. It was like a melting pot of all Native Americans. So you had Mohicans, and you had all these different groups that were not from Pittsburgh, but all here. Anyways, he goes there, and he's like, look, I need your help. The British are coming. They're going to take all this stuff. I've given you all this cool stuff. He's like, you got to, this is probably his exact words, by the way.
Yeah,
he's like,
that sounds like
help me out
verbatim.
That's like the drunk history version.
That's true.
Come on, man. Let's go, bro.
They say
Washington.
No. They say no, right? So he leaves. He goes back. He's all disappointed. They have like just another day before they're totally wiped out. And so he goes back pleading with them again, and this time he rips off his shirt and like puts on their war paint and like leads the charge Animal House style. No joke. Leading all, and they thought it was like the most bravest thing they ever saw. So like 600 Native Americans join in fighting, and like these 30 guys, and they don't fight like the British. The British come there in like these long lines of people kind of moving down. Regimented. Stuff up in trees, and they're like hollering over here and hollering over there, and all of a sudden like velociraptors, they get you.
Guerrilla warfare, baby.
No joke.
Yeah,
and they were not used to that, and they were like completely wiped out. Braddock was killed, putting George Washington in command for the first time in his life. Giving him a taste of what it meant to be in charge of other people.
What'd he ever do, man?
Yeah, exactly. He was here 5 different times. Every time he came here was pretty cool.
Yeah.
His first time, he was like a young, redheaded 19-year-old traveling on the secret mission to kind of like tell France the lead.
He had like the special buttons, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, with the letters in his buttons or whatever.
He did, yeah. But so, anyways.
Everyone knows he won't tell a lie or whatever, but not everyone knows the buttons.
So there's stories.
I thought the lie thing was Abraham Lincoln, bro.
Oh, maybe it is.
Honestly, you know?
He led that charge in.
Maybe, what's the cherry tree? Sorry.
He was the first one killed.
Okay.
Yeah. Isn't that nuts? But the story, you'd never hear that story.
Yeah.
It's not in any kind of history book. You have to like look into the genealogy of different people, find these like hidden stories. And then everything's told from like the winners, so the British, whatever, they don't tell the French.
Yeah.
Well, he was, killed in battle, like a hero, buried at the point.
Right.
There's like, I don't know how many burials, like hundreds of burials right at Point State Park.
Oh, really?
No tombstone, no marker,
or dig 10 feet there, Cheech.
I have people that have dug down.
Found some femurs of T-Rexes.
So, yeah. So you guys got like questions?
I have a question about Punxsutawney Phil.
Yes. Okay.
Oh my God, I
Right.
forgot.
Yeah, I literally just looked at the computer and was like, fuck yeah, I'm glad I looked there. How many Punxsutawney Phils have there been?
Well, I mean, I don't know.
It's
but
super hard to
apparently
find
I can
out.
tell you,
By
this is a
my-
trick question. It's a trick question because there really only has been one.
No, this eternal elixir ain't fucking fooling me, bud. By my math, it's 27.2.
We were discussing it earlier, and we were trying to figure it out, and they said the first I guess the only Punxsutawney was in like 18. I bet you know the year.
1886.
1886.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
and now we figured out the groundhog's lifespan is 3 to 5 years in the wild.
Right.
We're assuming he's bougie as fuck and gets pampered.
Yeah. So 5 years.
So we're saying 5 years at the most.
Math
so that
comes
means
out
the
to be
minimum we're at what 26.
27.2.
27.2?
Yeah.
So we're saying that's if they all lived to their maximum lifespans.
Correct.
We're probably talking 30 plus.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you're probably right. But yeah, everyone knows there's only one. But have you ever heard of Pittsburgh, Phil?
Nah.
So Pittsburgh had a groundhog too,
Sick.
and during the same time.
Not Phil.
And in fact,
he's the second.
How they
last.
Gobbler's Knob and all these people got together, the prognosticator, the
Yeah.
seer of seers, right? How they chose this guy was that it was like these newspaper organizations that got together first, and they had these competing things about whose groundhog was better, Pittsburgh's or Punxsutawney's. Punxsutawney ended up winning, but you know what they used to do? Mm-hmm. So they would go out on a groundhog hunt.
Okay.
And then they would celebrate with like groundhog punch and the guest of dinner,
Punch? And so they would drink something related to the groundhog?
No. They
would
eat
just call it
the groundhog
Okay,
at the end of the groundhog day.
Okay.
So that was the big thing. They pull them out and they would, hey, nice to, whatever, and they'd eat them. So that's the rich traditional.
So Phil's the one who got spared.
So you'd almost, with your theory, then would be 30, be a lot more than that because early on they killed and ate one every year.
So we're looking at like 35 Punxsutawney.
We're looking at maybe how many years is that now?
Maybe even 40.
They're savages. They're savages until the 40s or 50s, man.
That's what I'm saying.
That's
Even
probably
then,
that 5 is
even
probably
then.
1 or 2 at best.
God damn.
We're probably talking
Our
60
estimate
plus.
was way off, bub. Way off. We tried.
Okay, so let me ask you this. If you were talking to somebody that wasn't from Pittsburgh and they said, tell me something interesting about Pittsburgh, what's kind of your go-to?
Oh, well, I mean, not only the number one, you got to tell them stories about the Giants,
Yeah.
because, like, it's just an interesting story to me.
Yeah.
That's a great way
That's
to start
strange
off.
to not hear about either.
Well, I'm trying to make a big change that, so and I have contacted the Carnegie. The nice thing about doing, being on social media is that like I can tag whoever you want to tag, send messages, get in touch with anybody you need and find out the answer.
Right.
Any question you have, like not just Pittsburgh history related, you can find anything you want. You
just
gotta go out
ask
and do
somebody. It's amazing how many people respond.
Just Nike it.
Yeah.
Just do it, But the
Nike was actually founded in Pittsburgh before they moved to Oregon.
That's right. Yeah. So, but you get these kind of so that's what when I people who are not from Pittsburgh, or like I work with people who are from all over, and they say, tell me something interesting like that. So you just start mentioning just the world's first from sports world's first.
Yeah.
And right there, you got everybody beat.
Yeah.
You're the first World Series, the first professional football player, the first professional hockey team, first college basketball team. I mean, I'm sure if I looked into more, there's more. The last first tennis championship was here in Pittsburgh.
Can you tell me, this is random, but what were the Golden Triangles? That was the tennis team, right?
Yeah, the Triangles.
Okay,
the leader of that team was another great name like Pudge Hufflefinger already. Von Gulagong.
Oh, fuck.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
He sounds like a con man.
Von Gulagong.
He sounds like one of those, like, who's the guy that does, like, the yoga? He's like a con man, though, or whatever. It's like it's whatever yoga. Big drum or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Like,
I interrupted everything. Go.
No, but yeah, like you start talking about those types of things, and nobody can compete with that information. And then, the ultimate card, of course, is just throwing out Tesla. Hey, everything you have in the world is because of Tesla in Pittsburgh. So,
how long was Tesla in Pittsburgh? Because I'm super interested in
he
Tesla.
was only in for maybe 2 years.
Okay.
He stayed at the Monongahela house, which is at the end of the Smithfield Street Bridge.
Okay.
Going towards the city. It was like a hotel on the left-hand side. That's where he spent most of his time. Then he traveled to a couple other different hotels, like Fort Pitt Hotel. All these places don't exist anymore. But like he, from what I could tell, where he actually worked, it's kind of where the David Lawrence Convention Center is today.
Oh, okay,
that general
cool.
area is where the Westinghouse had a factory before he moved to East Pittsburgh, which is where the factory ended up. He keeps on going. That guy's story, Westinghouse. I mean, he invented car shocks.
Yeah,
So,
his whole
no big deal.
Just goes on.
His whole story is so cool because, like I was saying, I went in that Tesla wormhole, or that whole rabbit hole or whatever, and Westinghouse was a major part of a lot of what Tesla did, and just following through what he did, and
There's
all
the
the founding
I
fathers
have written by Nikola Tesla about George Westinghouse.
Was it favoring him?
Yeah.
Okay.
He talked about his first time he ever met him. He was 26.
Yeah.
And Westinghouse was 10 years old. He was about 35, 36 years old when he first met him. And talked about just what he was like.
Yeah.
Just how incredible he was. After Westinghouse died early on.
Yeah.
Tesla lived, of course, up until 50s or,
right. Yeah. He lived a lot longer than I thought. He was like the Sid Barrett from Pink Floyd. Like I thought he died in like
yeah, exactly. Shows up
that old cliche.
Stone, like well, anyways, But yeah, he lived in New York by that time and looked all like a freak and everything, and had pet pigeons and stuff.
Yeah.
But he kept in touch with Pittsburgh, and he kept in touch with Westinghouse. In fact, writing Westinghouse for funds for his death ray.
Yeah.
I have that document I got from.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That stuff is so
They turned him
interesting.
down, but they did reach out to Pittsburgh. And George Westinghouse, like part of the deal was that Westinghouse, the corporation, would give him an allowance every month and pay for his hotel room in New York for the rest of his life.
Well,
Pittsburgh paid for him forever.
I did see that, but it was like something like Westinghouse should have had him royalties. Like Tesla didn't give a fuck about the money, kind of. He was like, I just want the science. Right. You keep all these millions of dollars that you probably owe me, and just keep doing this. And then later on, like Westinghouse totally took care of him, but I feel like it was kind of a drop in the bucket of what Tesla could have taken.
Tesla had an idea where it's still like a revolutionary idea, which is free electricity.
Yeah.
He invented it. You can do it.
Yeah.
We're purposely choosing not to use this technology.
That's kind of like,
why?
it's crazy.
There's only one reason why. It's money.
Yeah.
It's because
you
somebody
can't make money off of free.
or whoever, you name a power company. It's because they know a different way to make money using this whole kind of you
don't like it, make your own electricity.
How you make electricity,
exactly.
and picking up everything, and you're running out of all this stuff.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Tesla figured out you could just flick a switch and like literally your phone would be charging, never even been plugged in, because you'd have like microwaves or like a different type of like radio. Like I can't see the radio, but I could talk to you on my walkie-talkie. He figured out a way to do that with electricity.
Yeah.
Like small bits of it to where it might. Now, who knows what the long-term effects are?
Yeah.
But like electricity is usually used for good.
I mean, I'll take cancer at 35 if I don't have to charge my phone.
Right.
Yeah, dude, I'm in the same boat.
Yeah.
In
But
the
like he did
exact
that.
same boat.
So then you find things like that all over, even just Pittsburgh history. These people who were like incredible thinkers and came up with these ideas that nobody ever came up with, and that either nobody cared about or it's just got lost to time.
Yeah. That's so cool. John, can you tell everybody where they can find all
Yeah,
your
yeah, of
stuff?
course,
That
yeah,
if
so-
I'm going to assume they're going to want to. I want to. So
But yeah,
tell me where
check
I can
out,
find all your
so
stuff.
anywhere you find, you could just Google Odd Pittsburgh. You'll find a bunch of cool stuff because I'm on tons of different newspapers and magazines and neat articles. But Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Odd Pittsburgh. I can't miss it. I got the guy with the weird patch. Pittsburgher.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up. Before
People
we
always ask
wrap
me,
everything
who was
up,
this guy, you know.
I'll pull it up for the people watching because I do have that one. So before we wrap this up, tell everybody who this guy is. He's the picture you have.
Yeah. So he's kind of like an unofficial mascot. You know, now no one knows his name. It'd be great if I could find out his name. But early on, when I started looking into like just interesting Pittsburghers, I was just trying to track down the oldest photos I could find of people from Pittsburgh. Like, what is the earliest photo of a Pittsburgher?
Right.
Does anybody know? So, like, I do. But
Is that him?
Well, no, but it's close. It's close. There are some earlier photographs, and that's what you call a daguerreotype. So, it's, prior to tintypes.
Yeah.
And they were invented around like 1845-ish, and were popular prior to the Civil War. And they switched to tintypes. So that's a daguerreotype. So you know that he was alive sometime around 1845, 1855, Pittsburgh. Okay. And that's it. I know the photo was taken in Pittsburgh because of what's written on the back of it, the original. And that's literally it. So it's kind of a way that I use that image as a constant daily reminder to never forget the dead.
And then you sent me this other guy too. I'll bring up for everybody. It looks like there's a guy. He's like sitting in the chair, leaning back against a desk with a hat on.
That's
he has a
alter
newspaper.
ego. Yeah, that's me.
Oh, that's you. Okay.
That's my alter ego. That's like, most people think that but like the people who follow the page expect things from the page, on a daily basis. So daily basis for years, I've been posting things, reading things, trying to track things down, trying to, find out something different. But I spend most of my day just like privately researching anything that comes to my mind. And I spend just as much time and devote just as much energy, if not more, to my own personal just curiosity. For example, I'll give you a prime example. No one's telling me to do this. There was a cemetery that I used to walk in when I was a kid by where I grew up. And I was always just curious, like, who are the people in the cemetery? Like, I know the names, but I don't know who they are. And who knows who anybody is in the cemetery.
Yeah.
So I made it a point to find out who every single person in the cemetery was. I have an Excel spreadsheet, and I literally
love it.
Some real high kid shit right there.
Each person, had freaky deaths or weird things. And you find out that
smallpox
every
and
person,
shit, or what?
Every person has a story to tell.
Yeah,
every single person, they're not famous. Like everybody's got one certain like.
It's so weird that they even have record of each person, though.
Oh yeah. And then the fact that you can now find out these answers. Prior, like I mentioned earlier, 10 years ago, you'd have no idea how to find someone's death certificate that died, 1910 or something. Now it's all free. You can find it online for free. It's just a matter of knowing how to do it and then putting it together.
Yeah.
So I spend my spare time doing stuff like that, for fun. It's like,
And
then, I know just as much about religion and sex and philosophy and music. You could quiz me on like 80s one hit wonders. Everything there is to know.
You're a big guy.
Huge. The sun always shines on TV.
Dexy Midnight Runners.
Right. Yeah. I actually do. Don't get me started. I do know the history of all those bands. So you know why it's called Dexy's Midnight Runners?
I don't know. Please.
Dexedrine, which is like a speed drug, and they used to take it, and they didn't sound like some weird folksy, weird 80s band. They were like a weird hardcore punk band when they first started.
Okay.
Dexedrine was the speed they would take, and they called themselves Dexy's Midnight Runners. Yeah, behind that band.
That makes sense.
Yeah. But it's just a matter of kind of following your curiosity, just seeing where it leads. Like I have no agenda,
right.
So it's just like a matter of whatever.
I think that kind of bleeds through though, because it's like if it's a passion versus like, oh, it's something I have to do. Like I feel like you can see like the fruits of your labor are better because like you care about it.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. Well, because for real, like everything I post, I'm like, I'm researching things, so many things behind the scenes that I never even talk about. Yeah. Just because people probably wouldn't find it interesting.
Yeah.
Like the details.
Right.
But like it's important to know the details.
Oh, I think it's so cool. Yeah. And like, I don't know, maybe it's like just because I'm into history more now that I'm getting older or whatever. But like anyone who like lives in Pittsburgh, who's grown up in Pittsburgh, who's interested in this, or if you haven't and you just want to know some history about some, the area, because it's just American history, it's world history at this point.
It is.
like with
world
TV and radio and
World's first movie theater.
Yeah, and all this medical advances. You know, Tesla hung out here for a while. That's pretty cool.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you get back in the movie, Warner Brothers were from Pittsburgh. David O. Selznick, who made Gone with the Wind, he's from Pittsburgh.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it keeps on going on. And Gene Kelly, of course.
Yeah.
Like, it's just the list of people.
That's
let alone. It's something literally in the air.
Yeah.
It's no joke. I mean, you could see it just from the connections that you get from other people in Pittsburgh. Like, Pittsburghers like to help Pittsburgh,
Oh, yeah.
talk about Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Imagine, like,
People from Pittsburgh
Enjoy-
you don't have to,
Yeah.
pry it out of them.
yeah. And then you start telling, like, this
Yeah.
Pittsburgh pride. Everyone's proud of the Steelers. Everyone's proud of the. Well, I've just given you 50 other things
Right.
to be proud of.
Exactly.
I didn't even know that needed to be on a T-shirt, which should be on a T-shirt.
Fucking
Right.
Yeah, so it's just like, what do you do with that information? I don't know. You come
Yeah.
and talk about it. That's
Right,
all you
yeah.
do. Let
Yeah.
people know about it.
Yeah.
I do want to make a TV show about all those world firsts. I actually did already get
Hit
an
up the
offer,
fucking
but I don't
history.
know
Yeah,
if
man.
This guy would do it. I mean, I would
gotta
like to do
try
like
it.
A drunk history, stoner
yeah.
history version of
Yes,
Pittsburgh
yes,
history.
stoner history.
Yes.
Yes, please.
Because that's literally what I'm doing right now is I'm telling you these stories, but like imagine if you could film it in a certain different way.
Hell yeah.
I feel like
No,
all
for
of
real, yeah,
you
for
say
sure.
that, but you mentioned that. Like, I feel like the last hour has been pretty much that.
Yeah, no, that's all it is,
That's
bro.
really, it is, yeah.
We need to hit up some big wigs here.
Yeah.
For sure. Make it happen, dude.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Needs to happen.
there's
Things
so
we
much